right, everybody, if you want to take your seat. I know there's very few seats to be taken, but I'd like to get started. Just to go over, this is the public meeting specifically for the environmental assessment, the draft environmental assessment, the proposed rehabilitation and operations of buildings 205, 207, and 208, located over on the North Campus. A couple of quick things of housekeeping. Most of you here know your way around this area. Around the corners there's some bathrooms. If you got your cell phone, please put it on vibrate. That way you're not interrupting anybody else. If you got to take a call, hop out in the hallway, please. I'm going to do introductions really quick. Megan Plans, the Executive Director of the West Los Angeles Campus Master Plan. Pretty much everybody here knows her. Nice having this group in the room. We all know each other. Paul Macpherson is the Program Director for the Enhanced Use Lease Program out of OAEM for VA. I myself am Glenn Elliott. I'm the Environmental Engineer for VA in CFM, Construction Facility Management Office. And we have Andrew Glucksman here from Abbott Associates, the environmental firm that developed the environmental assessment document itself. Just to go over the agenda real quick, I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to go over what the National Environmental Policy Act is, what the purpose and need is of the actual project, the proposed action, what we are proposing to do on campus, on the North Campus, an analysis of that proposed action from an environmental standpoint. We'll take a quick break. There's a small number of you. If you did fill out a comment card in the beginning, that comment card, we'll take a look at those and we'll read from those to process the questions, then do a question and answer session.
All right, folks, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone stand. Face the flag, cover your heart. Ready, begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. So just a quick, got two more stragglers just rolling in here. So just a quick overview of what the National Environmental Policy Act is. Promulgated in 1969, and what it essentially states is that any federal agency performing a federal action has to perform an analysis of that action to take a look at the impacts. The impacts just don't always go along with natural environment. Most people think of birds, soils, bunnies, things like that. It's not just that. It's also the human environment. So this document, along with other documents that would fall under the NEPA process, takes a look at those things, and that's what we'll quickly discuss tonight. As part of this public hearing, the VA has developed a draft environmental assessment. It describes the federal action that we are proposing to do on the North Campus, and that is the redevelopment of buildings 205, 207, and 208. It takes a look at the potential impacts associated with those items and documents those. We're in the phase right now of opening things up for public comment. So the document is out, available. It's located at multiple locations on this campus, but it's also located at the library. It's available online for download. And this is the point in time during that process where we take in the public's comments regarding the document, regarding our public action, to incorporate into the document. So as part of NEPA, you have to start with what's the purpose of the project and what's the need of the project. As you can see, it's to enable VA to provide permanent supportive housing for at-risk and homeless veterans and their families at the West Los Angeles campus. What that means is we are actually trying to renovate our existing buildings, specifically building 205, 207, and 208, to provide permanent supportive housing. Yes, we have housing on campus, This is permanent supportive housing, very similar to what we have currently at Building 209. Now the need. The need is very specific in this case. We have high volumes of veterans and their families who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. There's a current disproportionate lack of actual existing housing in the community. So we are trying to bring or increase the number of housing on campus to provide the permanent housing that's needed. So the proposed action, what we're actually proposing to do on campus with Building 205, 207, and 208. We're looking to actually renovate these buildings. We're not looking to tear these buildings down. We're looking to utilize the existing buildings, renovate them, and turn them over identical to a situation that we have in Building 209. Keep the existing structure, renovate it, and provide permanent housing. The types of things that we include when we're doing those renovations are exterior facades. That involves a historic preservation aspect of it. That's one of the reasons why you look at maintaining the existing facility, because that is in keeping with the National Historic Preservation Act, as long as you follow certain rehabilitation standards. Some of the other things are life safety, seismic. Those are all standards that we will be bringing up to code with the redevelopment of the buildings. So everybody's aware. I'm pretty sure everybody sitting in the room knows where these buildings are, but really quick, we're located down here right now, North Campus, Building 207 on the way up, and Building 205 and 208 located just across from Building 209. Here's an aerial view of Building 205 and 208, just to the right of MacArthur Field. You can see the parking area in the back. I've identified a couple things like if you look at Building 205 and 208, the concrete area or the laydown area in between those two, that would be the staging area. That way everything is concentrated in one area for the potential development of these buildings. This is Building 207. Like I mentioned, it's located a little bit to the south and to the east of 205 and 208. Again, an existing structure. You have existing parking surrounding it that supports those structures. When we talk about the analysis, as I mentioned before, these are the type of things that we are studying in each one of our documents. From aesthetics and air quality, cultural resources, to utilities, all important, traffic, transportation, and parking. Specific to this, in the analysis, one of the biggest things that we have always heard from the public regarding anything that we do on campus is traffic, traffic, traffic. We performed a specific traffic analysis associated with buildings 205, 207, and 208, and what impacts that would have on the transportation circulation in the area, parking, etc. One of the things that we actually figured out is through the change in use, currently they're used as a medical type facility, which had different types of services, individuals visiting the buildings throughout the day, multiple appointments, those type of things. Those actually increase the number of trips that are going through campus, accessing those buildings, versus when you turn it over to a permanent residential housing, that actually lowers the numbers. So, and this was taken not just from, there's multiple ways to look at the way transportation is looked at, models, consistent numbers. We were able to use modeling, but also to look at empirical data from existing facilities that are located in the area that provide permanent housing to veterans. Now, as part of this, before I mentioned the National Historic Preservation Act. The National Historic Preservation Act is a public law, just like National Environmental Policy Act. What that does is, it looks at our actions, it looks at the historic buildings that we have on campus, and says if you're going to impact and change those, what are you doing to maintain the historical aspect or the architectural aspect of those buildings? So as part of this, with Building 205 and 208, we will be following the Secretary of Interior standards. One of the things that we've also done is reached out to the stakeholders in the community, and not just the State Historic Preservation Office, but also offices of the city. We've looked at we have a consulting party group that we go and have meetings with that identify what we're proposing to do and what their comments on the impact associated with these buildings. In addition to that are the tribal historic preservation officers of the state groups that are in the area as well. There's a little bit more about the Section 106 process that took place for Building 205, 207, and 208. So one of the questions is, what is the next step from this? The comments that we received this evening, the comment that we received during the 30-day public comment period from the public, we will incorporate into the draft environmental analysis document in and of itself. We will take a look at those comments, see if there's any sections that need additional information, take a look at those sections that the comments themselves provide additional background and something that actually may have to be taken a look at and studied further if needed, and they'll be incorporated into the document as part of the record. From there, the VA will make a decision. Once we finalize the document, the VA will make a decision on how to move forward with the project. That was a quick synopsis of it. We provided comment cards in the front of the room. If you actually grab those, if those were filled out, if we could, I was going to take a 10-minute break, but because this went so quickly and there's so few people, I don't really see the need to take a 10-minute break unless we all would like to. I don't see anybody shaking their head yes.
Keep going.
Keep going. All right, keep trucking. Can I have the comment cards from the back? Did nobody fill any out? Okay, I'm going to go the dangerous route of saying, do I have any questions that anybody would like to ask? Crickets?
I have a question.
All right.
I'll bring me the mic, it's a little easier.
Okay.
And there's so few of us, we're not creating a lot of noise, so. Stand by. Try to stop. I'll let the pro down.
I have sort of a dilemma in that I have a dual purpose here. For purposes of transparency, I'm a member of the Community Veterans Engagement Board, and I serve that role as part of the Brentwood community and the liaison community. And the one question that keeps coming up that I don't have an answer for when we talk to the community is why these three buildings are being rehabbed given their condition. I know they're historical, but would it be cheaper and faster to build new buildings on the campus in whatever location is suitable?
The answer to that is two-part. I'll answer one part, and the other part I'm going to hand over to Paul Macpherson, who's in charge of the Enhanced Use Lease program. 205 and 208 were part of a seismic retrofit improvement program previously initiated prior to the master plan. So we already had some level of design that's been started for those. So those were already kind of slotted for enhanced use lease, similar to 205 and to 209. Past that and the move over to enhanced use lease, Paul, do you want to grab that for your comment? You got a mic right there. I think you just got to press one of the little buttons.
No, I think.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me. My name's Paul Macpherson, and Director of the Enhanced Use Lease Program for VA. To answer your question about is it cheaper, better, quicker to build something new, and you're absolutely correct, it is. However, if you do that, you're left with facilities here on campus that you have no use for or that are very expensive to rehab. What we try to do in the Enhanced Use Lease Program is reutilize our older infrastructure by partnering with developers. And we've been very successful doing that at other locations throughout the country. And here at LA, it's no different. We can reutilize, to a large extent, some of these older buildings, and the developer will finance and rehabilitate them into housing for homeless veterans. So yes, it is a little bit more expensive. It is more of a challenge. But we intend to reuse as many of those facilities that we can. If the developer chooses over a period of time to demolish some facilities, then we would have to work through that with them. But there will be some areas, hopefully, where they'll find the ability to do new construction on the north part of the campus. So it's a blended approach. But here we had three buildings, 209, 205, and 208, that could easily be turned into housing, convert it into housing. And it's not that much more expensive to do it that way. And so we get a benefit for VA, what we call the two-fer. We get the older structure rehabilitated and we get the housing for the veterans, which is so desperately needed.
And get somebody else to pay for it.
Absolutely, yes. VA is not contributing towards the cost of rehabilitation. Thank you.
Hi, Janet Turner, Congressman Ted Lewis. I want to make sure I'm really clear about what you said, Mr. Macpherson, that it doesn't matter that it's going to cost a lot more and take a lot more time, because the VA just has to be able to refurbish their buildings, and not because there's any other reason, because they're historic or anything of that sort. I want to make sure I'm clear in telling the Congressman your answer.
To address that question, when I said it's more expensive and it takes more time, it does, but when we look at buildings 205 and 208 through the transactions that we're currently going through, the cost of rehabilitating those buildings, while it's more, it's not substantially more than doing new construction. The issue with new construction is it's easier to get that out of the ground more quickly because you're dealing with virgin ground, essentially. When you deal with a historic building, you've got the historic items that are important to the State Historic Preservation Officer that need to be incorporated into the design effort that goes forward with that. So it is a little longer. It's certainly not extremely longer, and it's not extremely more expensive to do it that way. It is just another tool in the toolbox that we find is very, very effective in reutilizing those older structures.
Does the historic part have a part to play in this?
Absolutely. As Glenn had mentioned earlier, the Secretary of the Interior standards is what's going to be used to rehabilitate not only 205 and 208, but also the new developer that's going to take on 207 is going to use the Secretary of the Interior standards. And by using those standards, it significantly shortens that historic review time by the State Historic Preservation Officer. So there is definitely a benefit for us to do that course of action. There was another question that you had in there, and I think I forgot it, but let me know if I've answered your question.
Very major, very legion, also on the Community Better Education Board. Would it be safe to say, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that this also meets a little bit of a timeline issue because it'll bring these buildings online before we can do other major construction on campus? Is that true?
Absolutely correct. The advantage to us is that we have these facilities that are ready to be redeveloped, and that is certainly an advantage to us. All other construction on the north part of the campus, if it goes forward, is completely dependent on the programmatic environmental impact statement. That's not going to be ready until the middle of next year. So the advantage on these three buildings is that we get to get started on those now, as opposed to having to wait next year. That's a really great point. Thank you.
To address a little bit of the cost discussion, I think everyone is thinking about how much it costs to rehabilitate 209. And so it might be worthwhile talking about the difference between rehabilitating 209 and these new buildings that we're rehabilitating.
So the rehabilitation of Building 209 was done, and it was done in a medical facility format. So VA undertook, because VA does not have the authority to run housing, and so the program that was going into 209 required to be rehabilitated to a medical standard, whereas the construction that's moving forward on all the other housing for veterans is going to be done on a housing and it will comply with local code, international building code, or whatever is appropriate for this particular area. But I do believe that is the local code. So you're correct in that it was done to a different standard, and because of that, it was more expensive to rehabilitate.
Sir? Yeah.
Well, my question is, hold on.
If 209 had to be done to a medical standard, how can you do 205 and 208 below a medical standard?
That's another great question. So 209 was done to a medical standard because the function that VA was putting in the building qualified that the building had to conform to that medical standard. So when 209 was rehabilitated, it was not housing for homeless veterans. It was housing for a VA medically related program, and because of that, the standard had to conform to the federal standard for medical facilities. So that's the reason that it was done to that case. Remember, the enhanced use lease of Building 209 came on about a year after that building, or a year and a half after that building had been completely remodeled by VA. So the new lessee of that building that's providing the housing for homeless veterans got the advantage of a building that had really been rehabilitated to a much higher standard, or higher standard than what was required.
Paul, could you speak a little bit to the plans for new construction? We're talking now about 205, 208, and 207, but there is planned new construction as well. Can you talk a little bit to that?
Absolutely. So we're very fortunate to have selected a principal developer for the north part of the campus, and the principal developer is going to focus on providing or filling out the 1,200 units of housing that was part of the draft master plan. And so this principal developer will take on Building 207 as an immediate task to rehabilitate that building, but they're also looking at doing new construction on the north part of the campus, and we're just going through that process of trying to identify and work with the developer as to what areas on the north part of the campus make sense to do that construction. We also have another developer that's going to be building on what's called MacArthur Field, which is now a couple of soccer fields, fairly close to this 205, 208 building, 205, 208, 209 on the northwest part of this north campus. And that developer, we've already selected that developer, and as soon as the PEIS is complete, and we've got the green light to go forward, then they'll look at doing new construction on that particular parcel. And that'll be all part of a concerted effort to build out the 1,200 units of housing on this north campus.
The key point of clarification with things like MacArthur Field and the 1,200 units is that analysis is separate. That's included, like Paul said, in the PEIS development, and the analysis associated with that on how that would potentially move forward. What we're looking at tonight is specifically the 205, 208, 209, 207, sorry. So just wanted to make sure you were clear between the two different projects. Anyone else?
I'm sorry, I was a little bit late. I just want to ask a question just from my own knowledge. So I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. Buildings 205, 207, and 208, they're rehabilitation of already standing buildings, right? How many units of housing do you plan to use for that?
Approximately 172 units.
172, okay, and then 1,200 units that will be, those are going to be built from the ground up on the north end of the campus.
There's multiple options in being that giving you that, keeping it in mind.
So just to clarify, the 1,200 units are something separate. How that is going to be built out is being looked at and analyzed as part of the PEIS, which is a separate document. The identification of how that is going to happen has not been identified yet, but the principal developer that was brought on is going to help inform that decision.
Okay, you have to need to name that principal developer.
Paul, the name of the principal developer?
Sure, it's the West Los Angeles Veterans Collective, West LA Veterans Club.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if that's it. Actually, somebody just walked in. I'll give her the opportunity if she's got any questions. All eyes on you, ma'am.
Anyone do windows? I'm good.
You're good? All righty. Well, if that's it, I appreciate everybody coming out. Keep in mind that the opportunity to submit comments are online through the below website. You can actually snail mail them in, but you could also leave a comment card, which is up front, and fill that out, and we'll incorporate that into the document as well. Thank you.